All right, everybody, welcome to the episode of the Inner Monolog. With me are my usual suspects. I got Jose, Julio, and Marcus. How you guys doing today?
What up?
Feeling refreshed.
Yeah, you guys are good. All right. I mean, I know that all you guys have something going on in your own personal accounts and doing your little spin-offs. We're basically Nickelodeon now. So
we started with all that. Now we got Keenan and Kel.
Let's just take a moment.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So before we get started with our usual banter, once you guys take time to let the audience remind the audience more about like what you guys are doing these days and where they can find you guys.
Yeah. So
let's start with Julio.
Oh, why me, man? I was gonna let Jose go.
Because you always the one who want to talk about yourself the most. So just
I didn't want to today.
Let's do it.
Get it over with.
I got Life with Julio. That's my channel, Life with Julio, and I pretty much record what I do in my life. I just recently went down to LA. We meet up with another podcaster, so check that out and see how that went.
Cool. Way to make that shit sound thrilling.
It's thrilling.
Okay.
It's thrilling. If you think I'm interesting, you'll enjoy it.
It's thrills and chills.
So, what about you, Jose? What do you got going on?
So as for me, I got Mo Boxing No Problem, which is basically a YouTube channel going over the big fights. So I give the fight details, tell the tape, betting odds, and then my prediction for who I think is going to win. And then after the fight, I do post-fight discussions with other boxing pages on Instagram and just see if we were wrong and where each fighter goes from there. So check it out on YouTube. Again, Mo Boxing No Problem.
Nice.
Okay. So before we go to Marcus, I gotta ask, were you right on the betting odds on the Ryan Garcia fight?
No, I call Ryan Garcia but knockout.
Ooh.
So
I think
got that wrong.
I think everybody thought there was going to be a knockout.
Oh, okay. So when we get to the story, I'm gonna tell you guys why I disagree with that, especially after we read the story. Marcus, let me hear what you got going on.
So I got Goofy Hunter Academy, where we talk about nerd shit while doing nerd shit. I recently started 3D printing Pokeballs, as you can see.
Custom balls.
Thanks to Julio, I'm now doing custom-made Pokeballs. Right now, we're starting off with sports themed. I'm making him a San Francisco Giants themed one, and I'm going to be recording that process and posting it. It's probably as soon as we're done with this episode.
That's fucking tight. Can you make me one in the shape of Julio's head so he can catch them all?
That's going to take a lot of filament.
Look at that fucking neck girth.
that negative neck.
Oh man, neck girth.
Oh man,
You and Tequila Spikes got something in common.
That needs to be on a t-shirt. That needs to be on a t-shirt. Neck girth.
no, but that's what's up, guys. I'm actually really proud of you guys' channel. Your individual thing going on. You know, I'm the one that's kind of been dragging my feet. I've been wanting to do that whole meme thing reaction that I was telling you guys about, but it's kind of hard to do it without somebody that's compiling them for me, because I feel like if I recorded after compiling the memes myself, it's not a genuine reaction. I feel like I'm kind of lying to my audience.
I feel like we should maybe email you some memes and then you just open the emails on that day.
Yeah,
that's true. That could be also true. But see, if I open the emails on that day, I guess I could share the screen while I'm recording. I'm not sure if Riverside even lets you do that when you're doing it by yourself.
I think.
Yeah, you can screen share. Okay. I screen share your
file. I could probably compile them in a file or something. So yeah, I'll figure something out after chatting with you guys. You guys have definitely been doing a great job with your individual channels. So let's just use this whole individual channel to jump off as a springboard, because I did notice that all of you guys have stories that are kind of branches of your own individual thing going on. So let's go with Julio first. I want to hear more about this. What is it called?
Yeah, Efuels, what Porsche's calling it.
Essentially.
So back during World War II, a little history drop. Germany made about 9% of their like wartime fuel supply from a combination of carbon dioxide and hydrogen, and so Porsche started exploring that primarily as a way to kind of like save internal combustion engines, and for fans of the 911 to pretty much save the Porsche 911 from becoming an electric car. Right now in Chile, they are currently building a plant where they're planning to use wind power to power the plant in order to generate the hydrogen carbon dioxide mixture is going to be producing this e-fuel. They're also not just talking about making fuels, but like synthetic oils for engine lubrication, like other parts like transmission fluids and stuff like that along those lines. Their first facility is going to go up in Chile. Then they're talking about having one in Australia and then one in the United States. They're currently already testing this style of fuel in their GT3 Cup car, their race car of the Porsche 911 GT3, and it's been proving to work really well so far. Mm-hmm. So it shows hope that there is a chance we can save internal combustion engines for gearheads like me. And their investment at the moment is about $75 million, and they're talking about investing more in the coming years.
Okay, and I was reading that they were saying that it could lead to some kind of like carbon neutrality.
Yeah, so I don't have the
based on the way they produce
it would work is it would still burn, obviously, like gasoline, but the emissions would be like less than 2% of what current gasoline emissions are now. So like 2% of what current gas is, which is pretty low.
So
I mean, it's not bad at all.
Practically nothing. Great. You wouldn't even be able to smell it at that rate.
We don't smell that down.
I mean, I personally think it's a great idea. Will we get to a point where people could only run synthetic fuels?
Yeah.
Probably. The big hurdle here that I was thinking about is, how are we going to be able to tell if a car is burning a synthetic fuel or a regular
Well, I think
fuel?
the cars themselves are going to have like special like parts, like injectors, fuel pumps, things that can work with and run the fuel through the engine and then burn the fuel in the engine, like special spark plugs and stuff. Because obviously the combustion rates are going to be different. The ignition spark rate is going to be different. Like it's still going to run like a current gas engine runs, but if you think about it, kind of like when you have a gas engine or a diesel engine running on
they're saying it might have a higher
the compression rates might be different, so there's gonna be a lot of changes. Kind of like people use use vegetable oil in diesel engines. You don't just pour that oil straight from McDonald's deep fryer into your engine. You got to refine it a little bit. There's a little process for that, and then you got to have special injectors for your diesel engine and stuff, and a special fuel pump. So there are modifications that are going to need to be made. If say I take my Honda Accord and just want to say, hey, I want to run it on this new e-fuel, I have to modify my car, obviously. So the idea is probably like newer cars are going to be having newer components that are going to go along with them to work with the fuel systems, to make the fuel system work and like be able to process the fuel through the engine and burn it and all that.
Okay, so then older cars would have to have modifications done to them.
You never know though. Like anything in the car industry, whenever a new car comes out, there's always a company already making like new parts to swap out, lower the cars, change out engine components so they can make higher compression, more horsepower. So I'm pretty sure like aftermarket companies will probably be keeping their eye on this and want to be ahead of that curve and say, hey, we're selling conversion kits for like, $1,000, $2,000, so you can keep your car going and change the fuel system and everything and run it on this new e-fuel in the future. So only time will tell, but I think it's pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool alternative, because if we could have this, electric cars, hydrogen powered vehicles, I think like having a combination of all these different.
We could be free from our dependence on foreign oil and gas.
That too, exactly, because you could technically produce this anywhere.
So let's use his price point as a jump off point, right? So he said about $1,000 to $2,000. Now, at $1,000 to $2,000, would you guys be willing to invest that kind of money into your current vehicles to modify them to run this new fuel just to be able to drive a combustion engine?
If it keeps me from having to buy a new vehicle at the cost, the projected cost in 5 years, with the average price being said to be $45,000 for a new car, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the expected cost to be for a combustion engine vehicle. That's not the projected cost for an electric vehicle, which is something that the industries and governments are pushing for hard. So there's going to be a lot of ways to get it at a much cheaper rate.
Well, too, like one of the things that I was reading on this and CNET pointed out is, at the moment, producing electricity for electric vehicles is still a very fossil fuel dependent process. So in a sense, this right here, like Porsche said, at least for their plants, they're planning on running these off renewable energy only to make this fuel, to produce this new fuel.
That's what they're planning to, but at the current rate, like you said, the reason why electricity for electric cars is still being produced primarily on fossil fuel dependent ways is because it's the fastest way to produce the energy that you need at an adequate amount of time.
They haven't searched for other avenues in order to, find alternatives, or at least they're not willing to find alternatives just yet, because there are alternatives.
Alternatives just don't fund.
So don't get me wrong. I think this is dope. Don't get me wrong. The synthetic fuel sounds amazing to me, but I feel like synthetic fuel is going to be the way to go for combustion engines, more for like high-end cars.
I don't know, man.
So I honestly think that in a few years, synthetic fuels,
electric cars. Audi has an electric car. Mercedes has one coming.
Yeah, no, they're gonna have their electric luxury cars to be able to still produce and sell to the what's the word called? They're gonna have vehicles that are electric, and so that the consumer can actually go out and purchase a car that looks like this, like the ones that they see out in the racetrack and stuff like that. But I honestly believe that driving a combustion engine might be obsolete in the next 20 years.
20 years, I can see that.
It's going to get too expensive. It's just for the basic consumer, you know what I mean? But I do think that it's a great idea to like keep investing in this, because then we'll still be able to see high performance vehicles in racetracks, in like Formula One, NASCAR.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, so that's always going to be exciting.
It would still give you the opportunity if you want to.
I'm not going to lie and say that I don't enjoy going to a racetrack. If you want to buy like a 911 and have and experience a 911 how it is now, I think this will probably be like a way of saving that sports car for, like, just for the enthusiast, for the person who wants to like own a car like that and just say, hey, like, I have a 911 and it still runs on fuels. And
that's all cool and shit. But one of the things I'm noticing is eventually when we start shying away from combustible engines, we'll probably end up being able to create even higher performance cars from what we transition to.
Oh, totally.
Because eventually, like some of the drawbacks, not to mention, between the stuff that goes into the cars that, weigh it down but still allow it to produce enough power for it to go as fast as it can go. We find alternatives to that. We can pretty much start increasing how fast these cars can go, and they're not relying on certain materials in order to keep it maintained.
I will agree with that. There's like a lot of waste when it comes to like maintaining a vehicle. Oil changes, fluids like transmission fluid, steering, brake fluid, all that stuff. I will admit there is a lot of waste that comes from that. So I think if we can start, just with the e-fuels alone being like more carbon neutral, we could also make fluids to replace like maintenance fluids that always need to be replaced more synthetic to where they're not harmful to the environment, and we can just probably like clean them out or repurpose them. That'd be great too.
Yeah, that works.
Any thoughts on this, Jose?